Hi everyone, welcome to our November 2023 update.
Yes. Thank you for your great patience and grace with us for the infrequency of our updates before now.
Yes, and we are working on that. We just got home 2 nights ago
I don't know.
from Minnesota.
I don't even know.
So we had a period of time. You can look at the calendar that's on the email for exactly when it was because I'm forgetting. But we were in Ukraine for like 2.5 weeks, something like that, and then we were in Minnesota for an event in the last 4 days. So we are recently home, and we just wanted to give you some broad highlights of our trip to Ukraine. So it started just regular until the tourniquet issue happened. If you do have Facebook, is it on your Instagram?
It's been on, my Facebook and Instagram, but we can give a short
you can
synopsis.
give a short synopsis. Do
you want me to?
Oh, I can do it. So basically, Polish customs apprehended us and our passports and our tourniquets because they did not accept them as humanitarian aid. They actually called me a smuggler, so I feel a little bit like Han Solo. But I'm not a smuggler. I just really wanted to get tourniquets to Ukraine. Anyway, they confiscated them, and we have had to work with a Polish NGO to get them out of quarantine. They finally let us go, by the way, but we are working on having to pay about $3,000 because of duties and taxes and penalties and storage to get them out, and to the NGO, who will then hand them over to our Ukrainian soldier friends. So we're hoping that in the next couple of days that is what transpires. But that was a big emotional issue because we were really excited because many of you gave us tourniquets to take. So we are very much hoping that those get released. But then we basically made our way sort of in a backwards sea. We started in central Ukraine and then went east and then south and then west, right? Mm-hmm. And we sort of ended up at the Carpathian Mountains. So we spent like a week on the front lines working with Alexei, who is living in Vinnytsia, but also travels to the front lines. And then we met up with Zhenya, and we worked with Zhenya on the front lines with Alexei. And we just met a lot of troops, a lot of civilians, did a couple of mini concerts for them, and that was really cool. It's always difficult. It's always hard being in those places, but very special. And I actually, Bria has been working on my laundry, and she actually just found this in my pair of pants. And this doesn't really look like much, except this is shrapnel from a cluster musician, not a musician, munition.
It's basically a projectile. So Russia sends these bombs that are filled with other bombs that are filled with projectiles that when they explode, these little arrows and whatever else pieces of metal that they put in them go flying through the air at I don't even know what kind of speeds, and basically
tear through everything.
Yeah.
So at any rate, Ukraine has been using these on the battlefield, different than this, but this is what Russia uses often in civilian populations. So they use all sorts of different bombs.
This I think was given to us off of church grounds that found a lot of these projectiles from an explosion in their church area.
So anyway, you can put together the scenario of the havoc that would cause. We spent a good 2 or 3 days in Kherson, which was incredible. We get to meet up with some church leaders there and get to hang out. We got to see some of the areas. You possibly have heard of the Nova Kakhovka Dam, which created a localized ecological disaster with flooding in one area and basically massive issues with animals and people and their homes and those kinds of things. So you can go back and read in the news about that. But Russia basically blew up this dam, caused major issues. So some of the churches that we visited were in the line of fire of either floodwaters, or they lost all sorts of fishing ground and all of those kinds of things. So in Kherson, normal like bombs and all sorts of artillery fire. But the Lord kept us safe. We got to visit some of our closest friends and crews of men that we get to visit. They're exceptionally tired. I'll let Bria sort of summarize in a moment. Then we went to the Carpathian Mountains, and thanks to amazing donations from our friends at Ecclesia Church in Houston, we were able to take, not you, kitten. We got to take our pastor friends on a little bit of a vacation. And the food was covered, the hotel was covered, and it was just a beautiful place that we got to go for about 4 days with them. And you're distracting us. And one of our pastor's wives, she said, "This is the first time in recent memory that I can remember spending 4 nights with my husband." And so that was really special. The guys, they are with their families for a couple of nights, and then they travel to the front away from their families for days at a time. And they've done that perpetually for at least 1.5 years, if not for far longer. So it was really special. It was great to see them having fun and relaxing and eating and swimming, and it was really, really good. So after that, we spent a couple of days in Lviv visiting some of Bria's friends and
doing a benefit concert.
A benefit concert there, which was amazing. And then we headed back to Poland to fly out to Minnesota, where we worked in partnership with Reed Ministries out of Minneapolis and the Twin Cities, and they help get theological materials and resources, biblical resources, into the hands of post-Soviet states, both in Eastern Europe as well as Central Asia, the stands, etc. Amazing people, growing ministry, and they invited us to come out to speak and to sing, and really thankful for Steve Urquhart, their president, and they are now, as several ministries are, going to be focusing not only on biblical resources for pastors, professors, chaplains, and others who need biblical literacy, but also that are going to be in the front lines of dealing with a traumatized population. There are some surveys that have been done that 90% of the Ukrainian population that is in country is suffering from PTSD on some part of the spectrum of that. And so there's lots and lots of work to be done by the church, both in Ukraine and outside of Ukraine. So anyway, that's a super superficial 30,000 foot summary of what we did. But Bria can just add a few thoughts, feelings for going home.
Yeah, it's always amazing to go home to Ukraine, which is still, it always will be home for me. I mean, Buffalo is now home too, but yeah, Ukraine will always be home. And so it's really always good. Right now, it's just really hard to, be going home, but at the same time, like, have to take things like tourniquets that then get confiscated, and then we have to pay $3,000 for to get out of, it's just stuff like that it's just painful a lot. But there were a lot of highlights from this trip. One of them, I think for me, is we have a friend, his name is Slava, and he is a commanding officer in a special forces unit, and he is a born-again believer, and we just love whenever we can see him. But one thing that's really special is we always do the Lord's Supper with him, because obviously he doesn't get opportunity very often to take the Lord's Supper. So we met with him first, just us and Pastor Zhenya and him, at a church that's nearby where he's stationed. And the church hosted the Lord's Supper for us and provided the wine and the bread, but then also all the candy and the tea in typical Ukrainian hospitality fashion. And so we just had this really sweet time of prayer and communing with Slava. So you can pray for him and his family, who's currently staying in Ireland while the war is going on, his kids and his wife. You can pray for them. The time at the hotel in the Carpathian Mountains with Pastor Zhenya and Pastor Victor and another Pastor Zhenya, it was just, I've been in ministry now for 9 years with Pastors Zhenya and Victor since Russia first invaded, ministering to the troops and civilians. And in 9 years, I have never seen them so unburdened as they were those 3 days in the mountains. They just had no cares in the world. And it's like the war and all of that just faded away for the first time in 9 years. And they were just so carefree. And just to see them laughing together and just hanging out together and with their wives, oh, it just did my heart so good. So that was an amazing thing to get to experience with them. So there were a lot of hard things that stood out, stories that we heard that I won't share. If you want to know, I'd be happy to share with you personally, but it's just really just unimaginable evil stuff that Russia has been committing in Ukraine that just, weighs heavy on your heart once you hear those stories and just realize what people are going through. But yeah, we're just so thankful for all of you who support our ministry, who make these trips possible by funding, our plane tickets. And usually when we're there on the ground in Ukraine, it ends up costing us at least $2,000 probably, just because obviously when we go, we don't want to be a financial burden to our pastor friends. So we pay for all the gas, we pay for all the hotels wherever we're traveling and staying, we pay for all the food, the meals and the supplies that are being bought and stuff. So we couldn't do any of this without y'all. So thank you so much. And if you want to help with the tourniquets, we'll put in the newsletter the link to Venmo and PayPal where you can help us cover that $30,000 customs fee that was incurred to get those tourniquets out. But otherwise, just thank you so much for your prayers and your support and praying for Ukraine and for caring and asking, continuing to ask how our friends are and how Ukraine is doing and how you can help and how you can pray. Y'all are amazing. We really appreciate you.
Very grateful. All right. Hopefully we'll do another update sooner.
Yes.
We'll talk to you soon.